is breaking the box of tradition and rituals that don't have the capacity to produce the life of God, and he's releasing people who are not just church goers, but people who are truly spiritual. We cannot talk about dominion mandates without talking about the ways of the Spirit. We cannot talk about dominion mandate without talking about the minds of people breaking open to the place where they are actually able to understand how to navigate the spirit realm. We cannot talk about dominion mandate and not talk about the fact that many times we get so encompassed by human, earthly, broken things that we have no capacity to actually see what is going on in the spirit realm. I believe we cannot talk about dominion mandate without talking about things like being prophetic, things like having 20/20 vision in the realm of the spirit. Because how can you dominate things that you don't even know exist? How can you dominate realms that you don't even know how they work? How can you rule over systems that you have no understanding of their functionality? You don't have dominion if you are still concerned about the little affairs of life. You don't have dominion if you have not learned to dominate your own world. You cannot exercise dominion if you have not learned to exercise dominion over the components of your being. You don't arrive at this point until you are first a man of sacrifice, until you are first a man that understands what is weighty in the spirit realm, until you are first a man that understands what the enemy can use as accusation against you, and how the mercy of God navigates through the accusations of hell to establish you in the place of power. I believe that for the dominion of God to be expressed through you, it must first of all have been established in you. And so when you think about dominion mandate and you think about men and the church and God's people inhabiting God to the point where they are able to enter places and systems, and they are able to cause them to break open so that the will of God is established, you have to begin to think about doors and gates. So when God begins to speak about dominion and begins to speak about us possessing gates, what the Spirit of God is first of all speaking about is the way that we think. Life is the field where you practice how to dominate. With every circumstance, with every situation, you practice dominion. The mindset of dominion is a mindset of Adonai, Elohim, maker of the heavens and the earth. It is a mindset of responsibility. You cannot have dominion if you are still a person that is walking as a victim. It is a mindset. You set your mind, because the word for gate and gatekeepers is the word for thinking. You don't rise up into the status of a gatekeeper in the spirit realm to the point where you are able to establish God's authority and dominion until your mind has entered into the place or into the fact that you are the one that is keeping a territory for God. So for you to talk about dominion, you must understand who you are and who God is. Because you cannot dominate on behalf of a God that you don't understand. And this is the reason why many of us are so used to hiding in our Christianity. In fact, our definition of Christianity is safety. Our definition of Christianity is that we are preserved in our small spaces. We come to church and we testify about how God came to us. No life lost, no money lost, no risk taken. God paid our little bills. We testify about things like that, forgetting that that's not who God is. In his first definition of who he is, it says, in the beginning, God, the system of creation, the life source of all things, the maker, the one who by the power of preordination establishes the future of generations. God created the heavens and the earth. He's a designer, he's an architect. He's a maker, he constructs. He's a builder and he sets things in place. He has the ability to calculate to the highest and the lowest decimal point how all things on earth should exist, and how whether one will fall over or whether the other one will continue to exist. When the mind of God occupies your mind, you are driven by a force that people cannot understand. You are driven by a desire to establish his kingdom on the earth. So you cannot talk about dominion without talking about conversation. You see, people are made or people are killed on the tables of conversation. Destinies are built or destinies are removed from place on the basis of conversation. Every time you open your mouth to engage, Satan does not have the capacity to create life, but he will actually pervert the ability of a believer or could pervert your conversation, because in the mouth of a believer is the power to life and death. In the same way, many of us do not understand what is going on. There are conversations around our nations. There are conversations around our generation. There are conversations around our children. There are conversations around marriages. And we engage with these conversations based on the standards that we are used to. We continue the conversations and we propel them. It is impossible for us to dominate as long as we keep conversing on the same level. So when God begins to speak about dominion mandate, he's like, please, can you change the conversation? How about you have a complete version of the conversation? Because if you are going to be derailed, not by what you know, but by what you don't fully understand. We cannot speak about dominion without speaking about a generation of believers that are schooled in the word. People who hold the Bible not as a religious book, but as the tool by which they are built into the image of Christ. People who hold scriptures not as something that people need them to preach about from a pulpit, but every time they look at the Bible, they see the encoded text of the divine life of God, by which they themselves become the expression of Jehovah and the throne of God upon the earth. You partner with scriptures. You engage with scriptures. You enter the scripture and the scripture enters you. You understand that it is not just text, but you lift the text from a book until it becomes the context of your life. You cannot talk about dominion without talking about understanding the power of not just words, but the word. You pull every earthly conversation into the realm of scriptures. No matter what is said, no matter what is heard, you pull it into the Bible. Let every conversation find its judgment in the word. Let every conversation find its evaluation in the word. Let every conversation find its place in the word. We cannot speak about dominion without speaking about a generation that understands the governmental policies of the heavens, the legalities of the heavens.